Thank you, Eva sir, and of course my chairpersons who have been extremely kind and generous with their praises. I don't deserve a lot, though of course I vie to be in the Yuva group, but certainly my brains are, but body is not. However, let's just get across. And even though the flights decided to put me in Bhubaneswar, but God's decided that I needed to be with you people. So we came back. Whether they put fuel in the aircraft or brandy, it brought us half an hour earlier. So you decide what we got there, but that's what it is. Now we'll go into the medico-legal aspects of reproductive technologies. I'm not going to be very mundane about what ICMR is. What I'm trying to go and put across is just give you a historical perspective as to what we need to know today as youngsters, particularly the Yuva of today, is the big main Isar of tomorrow. So for us, we have actually gone into the twilight zone. And what does Prakash or Geeta Ganguly or any of our seniors want to leave behind for you people is a very healthy profession where you can practice without any kind of tension. So if this ISAR bill or this ART bill is coming in, the many people who are going to get not affected but who are going to be influenced by is many of the people who are sitting in this audience. So the life of the law has not been logic, but it's been an experience, because laws only come out of experience. It starts with case laws, it starts with something very, very critical that happens in the industry, and then the government wakes up and then they start, like the baby Manja case, and then governments get involved because they don't know whether the baby belongs to A country, B country, C country, because the law does not keep in a pace with science. And so when science starts moving forward and law keeps behind, therefore the nudge comes in from science to law. And somewhere ethics gets lost in the way. So I'm just going to give you a little this thing that started with Louise Brown, the birth of Louise Brown in the year 1978. Now, the architects of that was Bob Edwards and Patrick Steptoe. Unfortunately, Bob Edwards was almost demented when he was given the Nobel Prize. So you can understand that even the Nobel Committee did not realize what a significant contribution he had done to the medical community, to the extent that Bob did not know that he had received the Nobel Prize at the time that he received it. It was so unfortunate, but that's the way we are. So also with Subhash as well. He had to commit suicide, and many, many years later, decades later, we decide to get a statue and this thing. I wish Subhash was alive to see this happen. So this would be something of a kind of impetus to Yuvas of today, that you all will be decorated if you discover something, invent something, not to be punished. So I think what is important is the unity that you will have when we go forward. We won't get draconian laws in assisted reproduction. It's only because of a few black sheep that we have these things. Because the good ones don't need law, the bad ones know how to get around it. So let's see how we can take this forward and see. When we say that motherhood is a basic human right, then should there be laws surrounding a service which aims to fulfill this desire of a couple to attain that parenthood? Are our governments becoming moralistic and intrusive into the bedrooms of every couple? Are they sitting there in the boardrooms of the parliament to decide what is happening in the bedrooms of individual people, citizens? But that's a debate that we have allowed them to do. So let's just go in to see why exactly some of the historical cases have actually come up and has woken the government. So in 1986, going back almost many decades ago, 1996, Mary Beth Whitehead gave birth to Melissa Stem as a traditional surrogate mother. Upon the birth of her child, Mary Beth decided that she wanted to keep the baby because she was the traditional gestational mother, and that was what was recognized by the law at that point of time. What followed was a 2-year legal battle with Melissa's biological father, Bill Stern, and intended mother, that was Betsy Stern, over the custody, which finally ended in the Sterns getting custody and Mary Beth getting the visitation rights. Which basically, if the law had been great and the contracts were signed watertight, then this would not have happened. So, this highly publicized case then prompted the legislation concerning surrogacy in New Jersey. Look at case 2, that is in 1988. Patty gets custody of surrogate twins. This was a very interesting case where Patty gave birth to a boy and a girl twins as a traditional surrogate mother, and upon the birth of the intended parents told Patty that they did not want the boy and only a girl. So they left the newborn son with her in the hospital. Patty, who had entered into surrogacy motherhood with no intention of ever having another child herself, was suddenly left with the prospect of raising another unexpected burden of another child. Patty and her husband eventually decided not only to raise her biological son but also to seek custody of the twin daughter, and after the custody battle they kept both the children, because when she actually bore both of them, she decided not to separate them even after birth, because that is the pangs of motherhood. When you actually have them, you either take them together, you don't separate them. This is what actually came about, where the commissioning couples have to contract that they will take the children whether they are abnormal, subnormal, they can't differentiate, and that is how the law started changing. Now you look at case 3, when Natalie Evans was diagnosed with cancer, which relied on removal of her ovaries. Eggs were harvested and fertilized and frozen. Their relationships later broke down, and Mr. Evans decided that he no longer wanted a family with this lady and requested the embryos to be destroyed. Now, this is a very peculiar case where you're looking at these embryos where laws of property will apply or laws of person will apply. Had it been just eggs, then laws of property would apply, in which case, without a doubt, it will belong to the woman. Or if it was just a question of sperms, it would be that of the man. But when it comes to an embryo, then the laws of person will apply. So it's a living thing. So then Mrs. Evans entered a court battle to save these embryos. The judges had sympathy, but since it was a combination of the husband and the wife, that appeal was rejected because she could not take a unilateral decision once they had divorced. And that's how those laws actually change, and laws of person will apply in this case and not laws of property. And the list is endless, and hence the need for legislation came up much more seriously. What medico-legal issues are we dealing with when treating an infertile couple? Are we looking at the rights of gamete donors, potential parents, embryo before implantation, and surrogacy rights? So when you looked at the Assisted Reproductive Technology Bill of 2020, mind you, 2020 bill is different from the 2010 bill and the 2005 bill. So if you're looking at the regulation 2020, what about the PGD, the surrogacy, the donor selection, semen bank, record maintenance, law and research? So I would give you a few examples as we go along so that it really hits hard. So it's not going to be a boring talk. Am I boring? No. Not at all. Are you all still awake? Yes. Thank you very much. So, is age a bar? 52-year-old postmenopausal female and 56-year-old male, 20 years have come to the OPD for fertility treatment. That means married for 20 years. Are they entitled under the law to avail ART services? Let's go and look at the 2020 bill. Who can avail of the ART services bill? They have to be a married couple. So which means single people cannot go for it. The female has to be between 18 and 50 years. The male has to be between 21 and 55 years. Already there's a discrepancy. And why? Because males are known to be subnormal till 21. Females are much smarter, so that they know by 18 they are quite okay. So males, I don't mean anything bad to you, but let's just at least here, at least the law thinks that they are very smart. All right? And here, proven fertility or medical condition preventing conception. All right? So these are the people who can take. Now, why 50? Why not 51? Of course, the discussions, debates can go on, but 50 is what they say. Now, had the law also said that if I am going to say 50, I am going to bring in an insurance and the government will pay if you are less than 50 or up to 50, and if you are more than 50, I will bring out a private listing, because on the one side, the fundamental right to conceive is the right that the Constitution of India gives to every citizen. So when you give a constitutional fundamental right to a citizen, then why are you bringing this bedroom into the boardroom? Is it because that you are going in to the ART bill? What if a woman at 50 conceives on her own? What if a woman who is already menstruating, and I've seen many of the Caucasian women even at 50 conceive on their own? Now that is allowed. Only when you enter into some form of an assisted reproduction, 50 is the same. The argument here that can be placed by the legal department is that if you are saying 50, then there must be some assistance from the government to say, I'm giving you this, therefore I'm going to put a kind of a label on this. Because if you're looking at any insurance company, they will give you conditions. But here government just says blankly, 50 years. But why male 55? Yasser Arafat actually even bore children at 88. How do you prevent people even at 88 giving baby? Now, for example, a male, unfortunately, this is the difference in the species, they keep on producing sperms. Whereas a woman, at least they think that by 50 they will stop. Thankfully. Otherwise, they will go on producing babies. However, with 55 there and 50, that is the law as far as, at least the bill, as far as this is concerned. Now, who can be a donor? 36-year-old Mrs. X came to the hospital with her sister, who's 42 years old. Mrs. Y and Mrs. Y was undergoing evaluation for infertility and was found to have poor ovarian reserve. She had history of 2 failed IVFs and was given the option of an egg donor. But Mrs. X wanted to inquire if she could also be an oocyte donor for her sister. The question is, can an oocyte donor act as a surrogate? What's the answer? Why? The answer, my friends, if it is a relative, okay, the government feels that the relative will not ask any money. The relative will be like Ma Kali Devi, we've just had this pujas and everything. So she will just stand there and she will just wear that white and red sari, and then she'll say, please take the baby, I will bear the baby for you because you're infertile. I never seen that kind of halo on any of the relatives. In fact, friends may do it, but relatives may not. So they feel that it has to be only for altruistic and no commercial consideration. In fact, among relatives, I've seen that consideration in terms of a different type of consideration. It will be a bungalow, a Mercedes car, and this thing, but no money is changed. Please understand. So there's no money change. But altruistic is the thing that is applied, because the giver and the taker are not questioning. They are not going to the parliament. And I'll give you a kind of example over here. You're sitting in the bus, and there is a no smoking board. One of the people is smoking inside, and then this innocent person walks in and wants to have a smoke. So he asks the conductor, can I smoke? That fellow says, can you not see the board? There's no smoking. So he puts that cigarette back in his pocket. Then he said, but that fellow is smoking. He said, yeah, but he didn't ask me. Question is just that. If you get caught, you're in trouble. All right? So a donor cannot become a surrogate for the same patient. All right? Now, 25-year-old woman, unmarried female, Miss Z, came to the hospital to inquire if she could donate her eggs. Unmarried donor. And she's 25. So she can actually vote. Huh? She is already there that she is mature enough to donate eggs and she wants to know, but she's not married. Okay? That significance of marriage, live-in partner and all that, she's not mature enough unless she is married. This is the dichotomy in the government's mind. Okay? Only when you're married you get the maturity to donate eggs. Okay? On further questioning, she revealed that she was having some financial hurdle and thought that egg donation could be a better way of getting some financial this thing. What should we do? Could we use her eggs? Next, eligibility for the donor. Males 21 to 55, but females have to be between 23 to 35. All right, there's a difference. All right, because women mature early and also get down very fast. So 35 and beyond, no, because those eggs certainly scientifically also come down. Ever married woman with one child, okay? So how you are going to find that in the registry, I don't know. All right, one child, and that has to be 3 years of age, so that it had to pass through all the immunization, including COVID. Okay, they've still not found the immunization for COVID for those people, nor anything, but still COVID is something. But 2020 bill says that. So should be unrelated and anonymous. All right. But in the new bill of 2020, they are going to ban anonymous donors, by the way. So you'll be surprised that if we don't act as SR or IFS or FOXY, we'll be in for double trouble. All right. Other prerequisites for donors, all these things are there in our ICMR bill. Rather than wasting time, you can have a look at that. And a bank cannot supply gametes of a single donor to more than one commissioning party. Couples or single women seeking services. So why that ever married and that sanctity of that marriage business, and a single woman who's past 25 cannot donate eggs, I don't understand. Single woman can be a mother, but she cannot donate that eggs. So this is the pseudo kind of this thing this bill is talking about. Okay. Now look at the ICMR bill of the earlier bill of 2010 and the 2020. You will see the difference here. Donor male and donor female, and then you look at the upper limit of the use of the sperm donor for 10 successful pregnancies, and here not to be given more than to one commissioning couple. What is important here, it's beautiful as a law, but the law is as good as its implementation. If you cannot implement this law, it just gathers dust in one of those cupboards of the parliament. Upper limit of use of eggs from one donor once in a lifetime. How will you monitor this woman? They say Aadhaar card. How many Aadhaar cards that woman has, I don't know. But still, okay? And marital history, married with at least one living child. Okay? So that's what here. So social freezing of gametes. Let's stop rushing to find husbands. Let's just freeze our eggs. Now this is the policy that the young girls are now looking at, and even corporates are telling them, don't take time for maternity, just freeze your eggs, and after you finish with us and they've taken the entire gravy out of these women, they'll say now at 45 you go and do what you want, but you got eggs of a 25-year-old one, which is your own. Okay, that's another marketing gimmick for these corporates. They don't stop at you people. Okay, they will squeeze you. Okay, whatever it is. And we get squeezed. Next, Miss X, 32-year-old, unmarried, came to you for social freezing of her eggs. Controlled ovarian stimulation done, oocytes frozen, revisited after 2 years and wants to fertilize her eggs with sperms of her live-in partner. Okay? So she's there. Earlier at 20s, you're just frying eggs, but then you freeze the eggs. Okay, 30. Now, what does the ICMR guidelines say? ART Bill 2020 says commissioning couple should be married. Okay, so if you don't have a husband, you've got no blessing of having a baby. All right. Case Miss Y, Mr. Y came to the clinic in 2009 for fertility preservation because he was contemplating on a gender change surgery. He wanted to become a woman, so he froze that. He froze his semen. However, he did not return to claim his semen for insemination into his chosen partner. What did happen to that man? Unfortunately, that gamete shall not be stored for more than, it was earlier 5 years, but it is now 10 years. And at the end of such a period, such an embryo or gamete shall be allowed to perish or donated for research organization. Unlike what many centers do, they go and give it to another person. Today, if ICMR really wants, they can just sit there in the clinic and do the DNA testing of all those babies born, and you will find each of the half brothers and half sisters coming out, and you can have a nice, happy birthday party, and you can find out all the half brothers and sisters, and you will find that that will be a nice tamasha for Karan Johar to do another serial on that. Okay? So, donated for research, and that consent for the commissioning couple or individual in such a manner as may be prescribed. And this is the ART Bill of 2020. Upon inquiry, it was discovered that Mr. Y had recently expired in a road traffic accident. So he didn't get a sex change surgery, by the way. And it also came to light that in the last few years, he had undergone the gender change surgery, and it was in relationship with a girl. The girl then came to inquire if she could get inseminated with the partner's sperm. When the consent papers were looked into, there was no nominee mentioned. What can be done in this case? So here's a man who's got his sperms, and here's a lady who wants to use the sperm, but the man who died is actually a woman. So this is a very peculiar case. So when the court looked at it, there was no mention of the sex change surgery. And the second thing was, there was no explicit consent to say that if I die also the sperms can go to this person. So that is called explicit consent. So then there was no implied consent also that I am dating this person, I am marrying this person, or I have married this person, and if I die you please take the sperms like your property and your will, how you write. If you have written that, then they would have given it to this person. So that was also not there. So therefore they destroyed the sample. So it's important. Consent for fate of frozen gametes, embryos, in the event of death or incapacitation should be taken in any consent form for frozen gametes and frozen embryos. Please understand, in the event of death. Unfortunately, when you take a consent for cesarean and all that, you don't say if you will die, you will die. If you don't die, then you will live with the baby. Who will come to you? But when you are freezing for semen or for eggs, etc., you must say, who's the nominee? That is very important. Okay? So if you look at all these other things, I'm just going across to tell you that I have got about 7 minutes more, and I would like to see if there are any questions that you would like to ask me. I'm sure you'll have a lot of questions in mind. And also in similar situations, I'm just going to go fast a little bit. Similar situations could have been done in patients who is brought into the hospital in a critical condition and dies, and upon his death, the wife says, we were going through treatment and unfortunately he died. Now he still breathes. They're saying he's brain dead. I still want to get his sperms from his testes posthumously, and I still want his child because there's a lot of property inheritance there. But the parents say no, because we are not going to give it to this woman, so there's no question. So what can you do? One is that the parents will not have any right on the sexual function of their son after he is achieved maturity. So that question of parents will be out. As far as the wife is concerned, it's the same thing of implied and explicit consent. But the judge can take a lenient view if there has been sperm stored, or the people over there are actually in the process of getting infertility treatment, and take a lenient view, yes, they can take the sperms and she can have a baby. So there have been cases of both, not to give them and to give them. And there are cases because according to the legal upon the death of the husband, 280 days, if the baby is born, it's legal, otherwise it's illegal. So the law there also has to change. So now that also has to be changed because this is assisted reproduction. All right? So if you look at this posthumous think posthumously. So if you really want to say, this is this priest sitting in heaven saying that, how the hell, I've already got this guy here, they still have not left his balls. So you have to be very careful. Okay? ICMR guidelines of 2005 permit posthumous collection of sperms and wishes. If the widow wishes to have a child, then that's what it's going to be. Okay? So rights of the embryo. So we do have rights, says the embryo. So here, of course, I'm relating to an embryologist. Okay? Research conducted only on such gametes and embryos that have been donated for such purposes with the permission of the ICMR. No research on any human embryo unless such research is necessary for public interest. And no human embryo created in vitro can be maintained for a period exceeding 14 days. That is when the notochord develops. So that's why they say after that it has to be discarded. Now, no work is done leading to human reproductive cloning has been decided. Now, is a child born through ART legitimate? The answer is yes. So, that has the legal rights of any child born through a natural conception and natural delivery. Legal rights to parental support, inheritance, and all other privileges is given. A child born to a woman artificially inseminated with stored sperms of her dead husband shall be considered legitimate of the couple. Now, India's first surrogate orphan here was, of course, the baby Manja Yamada case. All of you are aware of what has happened over here. Are you all aware of this case? Yes? No? Thank you. Yes? Okay, then I will not go there. Huh? I don't know. Are you all very early for banquets and cocktails or no? I think, we have just had Kedar telling you about lifestyle management. I think cocktails is already out. So it's only dinner that you're getting, and that too you're going to get millets. Yeah? What, Kedar? No? And the girl you told me no was climbing up the stairs. Have you seen everyone, any Fitbit watch or nothing? Everyone's wearing, 10,000 steps before you get to cocktails. Okay. What about the baby Manja case? Okay, I've got only 3 minutes, so I'll come to the baby Manja case if somebody's going to ask me, because that will take a long time, because I can go across to surrogacy later on. So, look at this one, okay. So, here what happens is that when a case is actually conceived by AID, this is another important thing. Husband and wife fight, and then the husband says, why should I look after it? The child doesn't look like me, and anyway, it doesn't have any features of mine, so I'm not going to look after this. The second thing is it is all left on the wife. So, this is something that has to be taken in consent and also into a particular document and notarized, because this is something which is important. As the clinicians, you have to see that you safeguard this woman, because they all come nicely. In fact, many a time I've had people, I don't want to say even top cops who have come to me. I want to know how many of my young Turks, Yuva Isar, have ever seen husbands' faces when you are doing donor insemination for the wives. Just hands up. Hands up. Only the men are saying this, okay? Well, I want to see the women. No. Well, thank you very much. I am one of you people who have not lifted your hands up, because I had one top cop who had come, and this was almost in a 1989 case when I had just started. And then this case came up for hearing in the court that I am not the person who signed in the husband's column. Now, many of you get that thing signed by the nurse or somebody else. Now, they come and scribble there and they say, that is the husband. Now, how do you verify that husband is the husband? Can I ask any of you, how do you sort of verify? Especially in a donor case? No answer? Huh? Only? Is marriage certificate mandatory? Has everyone got a marriage certificate? Then, are you going to look at that Mangal Sutra which can be bought in the market? I was involved in one such case with a top cop and with about 200 doctors plus supporting that cop. And it was very difficult for me. Can I have 2-3 minutes more? Am I missing? Is that possible? Huh? And I had 200 plus doctors supporting that cop. And for me, when I was looking at that case, I had just come back from the UK, very wide-eyed, very enthusiastic in seeing that they get the pregnancy. And I used to tell the nurse, "Arey yaar, go and get it signed and come." And only thing is, I had my documentations right, but signature was there. I picked up the case and then I said, and suddenly I got a notice, and that too from the top cop, not less than the commissioner level. Then I said, commissioner or no commissioner, they have come for treatment, they have come for treatment. So it was supposed to be his sperms, and she had had a missed abortion with his sperm. He then claimed that he is not the signature to that particular document where the husband signed. She said he is the person. I later came to know, a decade later, that there was a court case over there. He was married before, he has had 3 children, okay, and this lady had now come with just that missed abortion and saying that she was infertile and that she's just coming, and that the children of the commissioner had filed a case against her of saying that she's trying to defame him, and that the doctor should prove the records. So that chap had actually very cleverly, he had only put his signature. And then I was called to the court to say that, do you remember this person? Now, gynecologists are very clear in their mind that they may not recognize the person when they are in the antenatal period, and in the moment they are in the postnatal period, because all that edema and everything goes, neither is the doctor interested in looking at the postnatal woman, they have finished their job, nor is the woman interested in seeing the doctor either, because she is busy with the baby. And therefore, even you forget the name because you're already seeing some more patients. Am I right or wrong? Correct. So, what happens is, even after the insemination is over, you've got 5 fingers, 5 different places, and you do a PV, etc. So, I would say, I'm not wrong, my dear viewers, that you will recognize the face of the patient not as well as you will recognize her cervix. Yeah? Yes, no? So, therefore, I was in one of these cases where I got into trouble. And how did it happen? They said that, how can you prove that I am her husband? I said, it's very impossible, because I knew fully well what he was getting at me. It is like it's all in your genes. And I said, I can't prove whether you're the husband or not. I only know that you people have come and you've signed over here. How am I going to prove? And then he said, I thought to myself, if I said, yes, I know you're the husband, because this lady was prompting me and she didn't have any support. The only reason I had known her was when I was scanning her, and I was this bravado kind of thing. I always make small notes. All of you must remember. Whenever you see a person where you wanted to lose weight, you tell her that, her blouse is tight, red blouse, needs to lose weight. And these are all my code words to sort of endear myself for the patient. And that time she had shown me a lot of cigarette burns on her hand. And she said, doctor, if I had filed for a divorce or something, will you help me? And I had said, yeah, I will help you. And then I had put cigarette burn spots on her hand and will help her in case of divorce. This was all code words that I put on that case file. Then she said, doctor, you open that and you will see who I am. And that was how I had connected to her. Not that I was great in my memory. No, I was not great in my memory. I saw that. Then I said, yeah, I'll help you. Now I had to get back on my words and say, how will I do this? So I looked at it, and I don't want any of you to get caught in that. So when I looked at that and I found that this fellow was saying, how will you do? Then he said, doctor, if you want to be clear in your mind and you want to practice peacefully, he sent some top doctors in different fields to ring me up and say, Kamini, why you want to get into trouble? Hey, lafra mein kya hai? Just chhod do na. This was what they said. I said, chodne ka kya baat hai? What is right, what is wrong is wrong. So then I asked her, how do you want me to take this case? So she said, madam, whatever is right you do. So I told myself, my conscience was not actually allowing me to do what those people were saying. So I said, theek hai. She said, doctor, if you say that I am the husband, then I have got about 5 other patients who are coming, and I will bring the wives and the husbands, and you match husband to the wife in the court. Now you tell me, can you all match husband and wife in the court? So I was in a fix. I said, in my situation, have I ever come to your clinic? I said, it is a policy in my clinic when I see a patient, and if the history is being given by the wife, I will write there in absentia, history has been given by the wife. Since it has not been written that history is given in absentia, I presume that you have been there. I have nothing else to say. And I would like that this is not going to be recorded in the full this thing. It was a big sensation at that time in 1989. I said, I don't want the entire, because you have these young lawyers and everything wanting to sit and say how I'm going to argue the case. So I said I would like that and requested the judge, for the modesty of the woman, I would not like it to be put in with others. I'd like it discussed privately. So only the commissioner as well as this other lady was there. So then it went on for about a year, and I had to go for this argument. And ever since of that argument, I decided, then they asked me to pull all the bills for what we did for our insemination to prove whether this fellow was in any way paying any of the bills for her. To such an extent, because I had had the documents, most of the bills were in cash. Now, anyone could have paid the cash. But to my luck, there was one credit card bill that came on his name, and that nailed him. That was the only thing that nailed him, and he had to pay. And then I came out. See, the thing is, somewhere they will get caught. Therefore, I request all of you, not only you take one Aadhaar card, not only you get the wife to sign on the husband that this is my husband, and let the husband also sign, countersign, and a witness, so that you are covering yourself. Ever since that, especially for these inseminations, it's not easy. You will be in trouble. This is the reason why I tell you, just taking a signature by the nurse somewhere else, you never know which case you will get into trouble. This is something which you have to keep in mind. So as far as this is concerned, as far as donor insemination, they all come very nice in front of you. You don't know what the woman is going through in her house. The husband will all appear like a milk chocolate in front of you, but all these things. Not that women are not bad, they'll also do, but I think I have enough stories about them as well. So these are something which you have to look at. Okay, there are lots of other cases which of course I will not be able to because it's already zero. So can a person be sued for adultery in the case of assisted reproduction? The answer is no, if your consents are in place. All right, so it cannot be. And AID without the consent can, however, be a ground for divorce. So never ever say with the cries of the woman that the man is drunk and comes, so therefore you can always do this. And it was found that the man was azoospermic. And those are the cases where you will get into trouble. No, on that day it was there, and after that it was not there. And they did a biopsy for that person, it was an Sertoli cell. So they got caught. So that is the reason. But azoospermia, non-consummation of marriage, can be a case for annulment of marriage. That means that woman was never married. So it won't be a second marriage for her. That is the thing you all have to keep in mind. So unmarried rights to get ART services, the answer is no, for the male. Okay? So look at this also. All these partners' consent, is it mandatory? Absolutely mandatory. Don't go for any tears of the woman and do it, because you will be in trouble. Better she cries and then you give her a tissue paper or even a box of tissues, but better you don't go and cry in the medical council. I'm telling you. So all these are sort of things that I would like to put across to you. However bad it may be, cases can be in trouble. So no ART services without partner's consent. Okay? So same-sex couple, not allowed. Don't fit into the definition of the commissioning couple, so the bill will not allow it. Okay? Overseas couple, OCI, NRI, and also the PIOs, no. Okay? That's out. So confidentiality, yes, confidential, except if it's asked by law. Okay? Rights of information about donors and surrogates, again, confidentiality has to be maintained. Only features, etc., to match them, yes. Okay? That's a they say. Pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, of course, after PGD, destruction or donation for the purposes of research. No putting it into somebody else for the sake of giving it to somebody else because they've had a baby, so I'm going to give it to somebody else, or sharing those embryos for commercial purposes. Not allowed. Okay? Of course, sex selection, you know that the PCPNDT man is behind you all the time, so keep away from them. All right? So laws are of no use because good people don't need them, while bad people will find ways around them. All right? So ethics is knowing the difference between what you have a right to do and do what is right you think you're going to do.